Hello and welcome back to After the Whistle Sports Podcast. I'm joined today by Derek, and we are going to be doing our annual NBA mock draft. We're recording this on Wednesday, so the day before. We'll probably have this uploaded either tomorrow morning, which is going to be Thursday, draft day, or later tonight. But yeah, we're super excited for this. Last year we did a similar thing. We successfully hit on most of the picks, honestly. It was pretty good. Even when people were saying that Banchero wasn't going to go number one, we saw right through that. That is why you should take our advice as gambling expert advice. No, I'm kidding. But we're super excited. This is a great draft. We've been talking about some of these prospects for a little bit now, and we both agree that the overall talent from top to bottom is super strong, I think, even compared to last year's class, which I also think was pretty good. So the way we're going to do this is it's going to be the same as last year. We're going to take turns making a pick. So, for example, I'll make pick 1, Derek will make pick 2, I'll make pick 3, and the goal of this is to successfully predict which player is going to go to which spot. So we are predicting what a team is going to do. These aren't our own rankings. This is in our big board. We are going to input some of our opinions on the players and where they go, but at the end of the day, we are trying to get it correct. So number 1 through 30 in the first round, we're trying to get all those players there. So let's start it right off the bat. I guess I could start first.
It's a tough one, yeah.
With a pretty easy pick. The Spurs got the number 1 overall pick. They hit the lottery, and they're going to pick up Victor Wembanyama, the center out of France. Not much you could say here. This guy is generational prospect, probably the best prospect since LeBron James. 7'5", can extend out almost like a wing player. Shot 30% from 3, which I think is actually going to improve. I think that's a lower percentage than how good of a shooter he actually is. And he's going to impact the game right away. Great perimeter defender, great interior defender. And yeah, the flaws in his game are so outweighed by just like the generational athleticism and size he has. So that's a great pick, and that's a franchise-changing pick for the Spurs.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to go through a little bit of a thought experiment. Just like talking about Victor Wembanyama as a generational prospect, and who would you not trade for Wembanyama straight up, or who is the best player you would trade for him? Now,
that's a good question. Well, because here's the thing, like, you have to take into account where the Spurs are as a franchise.
Yeah.
Right, you have to take into account that this is going to be a little bit of a rebuild. So, like, I mean, the way I was thinking about it before is I was thinking about all these stars. But, honestly, if we're thinking about, like, a young player, you mentioned Devin Booker before.
Yeah, like Jaylen Brown, would you take Vic?
I would take Wembanyama. I mean, I would take Tatum. I think Tatum is going to be the best player that you would still trade for Wembanyama. And I think that's a pretty solid.
Would you take Zion over Wembanyama?
No, Zion can't. I mean, Zion might get traded for the number 3 pick. So, like, how would he be worth the number 1?
I mean, yeah, it looks like Wembanyama is already like a top 15 player in the NBA in terms of value-wise, which is.
And again, I just want to like spend a little bit more time just because he's such a special prospect. But even with the people saying like, oh, he played in Europe, he might not have the same exposure that a lot of NBA fans have with college stars, even the G League guys. But I mean, he was playing like the guys who play in Europe aren't just going out there and playing against Serbian farmers. Like these guys are playing against professional basketball players. I mean, he showed out in FIBA.
Mike James.
Yeah. Mike James. Actually, I'm pretty sure Michigan basketball legend Devontae Jones plays on Victor Wembanyama's team. So I was watching some tape, and I was seeing all these like old college basketball players. But
I mean, they're pretty good. Like,
they're pretty good, yeah. And then there's another player, actually, who's on Wembanyama's team who might be drafted later in the first round. So keep an eye out for that. But let's move on. Number 2 pick, the Charlotte Hornets. Now, this pick's also been talked about in trade stuff. But do you think they make a pick here? And if so, who's the player you like at this spot?
Yeah, I don't think they make the pick here. I think, at least from my point of view, there's 2 really, really good prospects. We have Wembanyama and Scoot Henderson. And I think Scoot is the person that will go second overall, whether that be via Charlotte or whether they trade that pick. I think there's a very high likelihood that that pick is traded. Scoot Henderson is one of the most athletic guards we've seen in the past 10 years or so. He has really impressive basketball IQ, so he's probably not the next Dennis Smith Jr. He's just really, really good, and he's been playing with these professionals for a couple of years already, so he's got that experience. I think he's only going to get better. Yeah, he's really excellent. So.
Yeah, he's an elite athlete at the point guard position. Now, his strengths, obviously, like he's a downhill threat. Like I honestly compared him a little bit to Donovan Mitchell, just in the sense that he's like going to be a great defender, a little bit of like a bulldog type guard, with just like a stockier build. But he's only 6'2". His wingspan is, I believe it was like 6'9" or something crazy like that. So I mean, he has the length to kind of make up for the fact that he's going to be smaller as like a smaller point guard in the NBA. But he's a playmaker. I think that's where he projects best in the NBA. Like I don't think he's going to be this like volume scorer, but I think he's going to be a good defender, and I think he's going to make his money as like a distributor.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think he can do that. So
I think his floor is probably like Colin Sexton with a little more basketball IQ.
I mean, that's just hating on Colin Sexton. How you gonna comp a guy and say more basketball IQ?
I mean, like objectively, Colin Sexton's basketball IQ. Like, watch the tape. You know, like I'm not hating, but like kind of hating. I don't know.
Oh man. Okay. So, and I think those two are the guys who, at least I think for you and me, are our top two prospects now. Yeah. Lots of talk about Charlotte going a different direction and going with the guy I'm going to draft number 3, Brandon Miller, the small forward out of Alabama, who it'd be funny because he'd be the top college prospect drafted, which is a little bit interesting of a stat.
Oh, yeah.
But I think Brandon Miller honestly gets drafted to Charlotte. I'm not on the same page with them trading that pick. I think from everything I've read, NBA sources are very confident that Brandon Miller is going to be a Charlotte Hornet. Now, the fit with LaMelo, I think, might be a little bit better than if Scoot would go to the Hornets.
Definitely, yeah.
And he's an elite wing scorer, kind of shades of Jabari Smith even last year. Like they're kind of the same player, but I think he gives you a little bit more, just like horizontal athleticism. I don't know if that's the right word I want to use, but I always felt like Jabari Smith was a little bit stiff.
Okay.
I think Brandon Miller has a little bit more of that
lateral quickness.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't want to comp him to someone like, he's not KD, but like
where did that
I mean
come
style
from?
of play. Remember last year I said that Paolo was LeBron light. I mean, I'm not making these comps based on like what like the actual production is in the NBA. I'm doing it based on what they did in college and kind of their overall like style of play. So, okay, how about this? Dorian Finney-Smith for Brandon Miller. Floor.
Yeah, I mean,
he's 6'8", he's 6'8", 200, 3-point shooter. I don't like he's a fine playmaker, but that's not like what he's going to do from the wing. Yeah. Solid defender, but that's not like his. He's a shooter.
He definitely has a really high floor, and he has like potential to expand that ceiling for sure. So I mean,
my comp's just gonna go downhill from here. But we got Brandon Miller going to the Portland Trailblazers. Now they could also trade this pick too. This is probably the pick that's most likely to be traded in the top 3, with Damian Lillard basically holding the franchise hostage until they get another star. But on to pick 4, Houston Rockets. I'm very excited for this one. Derek, who do you have here?
So the player I'm thinking about is probably one of the most difficult evaluations that we've ever had to do. I mean, Amen Thompson played in the Overtime Elite League, which is a very fraudulent league in my opinion. He's playing against literal high schoolers.
He's 20 years old.
He's 20 years old playing against 16 and 17 year olds. And he only averaged 15 points per game, not on tremendous efficiency. So we're seeing some very clear red flags here. But when you watch the film, you see this guy is a 99th percentile athlete, crazy vertical, crazy speed, really knows how to pass, probably the best passer in the draft. And he's got really just great playmaking potential. I think he'd be a really good fit next to Jalen Green. That'd be really fun to watch.
I think he's like a very projectable. we're gonna talk about his brother a little bit later, his twin brother. But at least when I watch him play, you can see like some of the NBA traits. Like he's going to have NBA athleticism from day one.
Yeah.
Which is like probably the hardest thing to adjust for. Like, can this guy actually play at the speed of the NBA? And I think within the fit of this Rockets team, it's going to be super young. They're kind of building around Jabari Smith Jr., Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun.
Yes, sir.
My favorite underrated players. But
guy.
I think they're willing to take a risk here. And Amen Thompson has one of the highest ceilings in this draft class. I think if I was coming up with a comp,
Ja Morant.
Yeah, Ja Morant. I don't think he has the like finishing at the rim like Ja Morant, because Ja came into the league and like his top trait was his finishing around the hoop.
Yeah, but in terms of pure athleticism and that second bounce, second vertical.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like a large guard who's like a playmaker first. Because at the end of the day, that's what he is.
I mean, I don't feel like there are large guards that are just super athletes and playmakers like that. So he kind of is.
Yeah, I mean,
enigma.
That makes sense. I mean, maybe he reminds you of kind of some of those Toronto Raptors guys that they used to run out there. Like a little...
Like Delano Banton?
Like Loki, yeah. Better Delano Banton.
That's offensive, man. I don't know.
Okay, we're going to pick Amen Thompson there. I think that and Wembanyama, the 1 and 4 picks are, across all the media outlets, are pretty solidified with Spurs going Wemby, for Houston Rockets going Amen Thompson. Now,
I do want to make a quick comment about his jump shot. It's like probably the worst form I've ever seen. This dude takes 3 seconds to load his jumper into a trebuchet and launches it, and it's awful.
But we've seen guys who can't shoot drafted in the top 5.
Yeah,
right? I don't think that's one of these where it's like, I don't know. I feel like people a lot of times look at the NBA and the way it's played, and they say, "This guy can't shoot. He can't fit into my offense." And like, first of all, you could teach it. Like NBA shooting coaches can teach guys how to shoot. We've seen it with a lot of prospects.
Yeah,
I mean, they can't teach Jabari Smith how to shoot, but they can teach most prospects.
Okay, well, Jabari Smith slander is too much. But I don't know if I trust if Amen Thompson's even going to develop a mid-range jumper. Like that could be a big problem.
He's put it on tape though.
I don't know if he has.
Like it's somewhat projectable. Again, it's his biggest weakness, but like I don't think that's the reason why you don't draft him at 4.
Yeah, no, I think he's a generational athlete. So.
Okay. Detroit Pistons with the number 5 pick. They were pretty unlucky in the lottery. They were projected with the tied for first best odds, and they ended up with 5th, which I think is the first time that's ever happened. But they have an interesting team with Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey. I don't think they go guard here. I think they want to kind of back up their forwards a little bit. I don't think they go Cam Whitmore, contrary to popular belief. From what I've heard from Pistons sources is that they're done with, like, they're moved off him a little bit. And I think the guy I really like in this spot, one of my favorite prospects in this draft, I remember when he was a high school recruit, lower ranked high school recruit. I think he was like 60s or 70s. I kind of singled this guy out, said he was going to be player of his conference as a freshman, and he was more than that. And so I think Taylor Hendricks out of UCF is the pick here. I think they really want to go power forward, and again, there's Jarace Walker also on the board, but I think I really value Hendricks' shooting. Walker's going to be a great defender, and I don't know about his fit on this team. Like, I think they want to surround these guys with great shooters. He's going to be an electric defender. Not as good as Walker, but he's going to be very good. He's got good athleticism. He's not a playmaker, but I don't think that's what they need at that spot. And I think Taylor Hendricks is a guy that is really high on a lot of other teams' draft boards. And so I don't see him going out of the top 8. And I think Detroit goes here and gets their power forward.
That's the highest I've ever seen him taken. But I really do like the fit, actually.
It's the right pick, man. You'll see on draft night. That's the right pick.
I mean, he's a stretch big, obviously. Really good fit next to Duren, building for the future. I mean, yeah, he's definitely more valuable than people are projecting him to be. So I really like the pick. It's definitely a reach, I would say.
I don't think it's that much of a reach, though. Because who you're comparing
in terms
him
of,
to?
Well, I think
Jarace Walker. I think different teams are going to value different things, and the overall talent of Jarace Walker versus Hendricks, I think is like not. I mean, I personally like Hendricks better, but I don't think teams are going to sit there and have Jarris Walker in a different tier than Hendricks.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's definitely fair.
But again, NBA Draft Media has Hendricks going like 8 or 9. I think that's too low, honestly. Okay, let's move on. We got the number 6 pick, Orlando Magic. Still some good pieces on the board, Derek. Who do they go with here?
Yeah, I think this is a pretty smash pick. Usar Thompson has dropped to them. He fits their timeline pretty well. He's a wing guard type of guy, crazy athleticism like his twin brother, has shown a little bit more shooting potential and definitely has some playmaking upside. So I think the Magic just lock it in here, take Usar Thompson. He's also a Miami native, so good and close to home. He's a good pick.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I think he's the worst brother.
You hate to see that.
But I mean, he's still a solid player. Like, he's more of a pure scorer than his brother, Amen. I don't think he's as much of an athlete.
How is that possible? They're like the same.
You watch him play, like he just doesn't move the same. Well, you can tell on the court. They look the same off the court, but on the court, you can tell them apart.
Okay, yeah.
But he's a good player, and like the Magic, again, they can afford to take a high ceiling guy there.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that pick. Now, number 7 pick, the Indiana Pacers. This is like one of the more interesting rosters in the NBA. I think Benedict Mathurin was a great pick last year. They're still building around Tyrese Halliburton, but the rest of this roster is all on like 1-year deals, and I think they might trade Miles Turner too. So they need a lot of help here. I think they also want another forward, and so I think this is where they go Jarris Walker. Now, I'm kind of hedging this a little bit because I think that if the Pistons go Jarris Walker, then the Pacers are going to scoop up Taylor Hendricks. I just kind of switch them around for my preference, but Jarris Walker, I think, would fit this team really well.
Yeah.
Kind of like a smaller Miles Turner, but I think he can fill that rim protecting role a little bit more. Yeah, he's 6'7" versus 6'11".
I mean, his wingspan, 7'3" wingspan.
Yeah.
We're talking extendo arms.
Now, again, he won't give you the offensive game that Turner does. Like, he's really a pick and roll guy. Is not probably going to create his own shot. Not going to stretch the floor too much. I mean, he can shoot a little bit, though. But mainly he's a great defender, good rebounder, just works really hard. I think he's going to be a good fit for that team. And plus, the pick and roll with him and Halliburton is going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah, I think he's a good pick, for sure.
Okay, we're doing this with my younger brother over here. He's kind of getting some notes. And I just saw something that said comp for Jarris Walker is Rudy Gobert. So take that as you will.
That's interesting, yeah. He is kind of a force on defense. So.
Okay, Derek. 8th pick, Washington Wizards recently traded away Bradley Beal. This team is terrible.
And Porzingis.
I forgot about that. So this team's awful.
Yeah, and Kuzma's going to leave, so we're really
building on Kendrick Nunn.
Yeah, we got Denny Avdia as the number 1 option. This is going to be a very interesting pick. I think they are looking for a guard. They're looking for a playmaker that they can set as their foundational piece for the future of the franchise. So right now I'm looking at Anthony Black or Kobe Buffkin. 2 great options. I think I'm going to go Black here, though. I really like Anthony Black, 6'7" point guard. Reminds me a little bit of Giddey and Cade Cunningham. He's got ball handling skills, really versatile, can play a good amount of defense, can attack the paint, and I think he will develop a 3-point jumper, which will make him a really, really good player. Just a really, really valuable point guard in the modern NBA where you need a lot of height.
Yeah, I think he's a very good player. In college, again, he couldn't really get the offensive part to fit. But on defense, he was outstanding. And again, it's kind of tough to project some of these players because they're just so young and they really haven't had the ability to like work in an actual offensive system. Whatever Arkansas ran out there last year, like they won some games, but it was tough to watch it sometimes. But the defensive upside's there, and like, listen, man, if Washington messes up this pick, they're just going to get a top 1 next year.
Yeah.
So let's live on the bright side. The number 9 pick, the Utah Jazz. Now, there's a few like ways they can go here. I think they want a point guard, but I also think they're just trying to go best player available, just with this roster here. And I think if Cam Whitmore is available, I think they don't want to get him. Like they have small forwards on this team, but I mean it's like Rudy Gay. I guess Taylor Horton Tucker can play a little bit at the 3. They got Markkanen, but I really think they want a real, just kind of wing 3-and-D guy. They're great defensively. I think Whitmore projects very well on the defensive end of the floor. Projects as a shooter. I think this would be a good pick. I was debating between him and Kason Wallace, the point guard out of Kentucky, who I think is like probably the best guy on the board here. But I think they want to go small forward and best player available. I think he just projects better in that offense.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. I think Wallace could definitely fall a little bit more, and the Jazz do have pick 16 where they could either move up or just take Wallace there. So, I mean, yeah, savvy pick.
Okay, now we got the Dallas Mavericks on the clock with pick 10.
All right, this is a tough one. In all likelihood, the Mavericks are probably trading this pick. But if not, I would imagine that they want a shooter or someone that can fit into the offense immediately. So the guy I'm looking at is Jordan Hawkins. We're going to take him at number 10. I think he is the best shooter in this draft by far. He has the full NBA package of three-point shooting. He can shoot off the screen, off the dribble. Absolutely elite. And I think he's a solid defender that would fit in well with the Mavericks' current win-now roster if they were not to trade this pick. So,
yeah, I think he's one of my favorite players in this draft. He is really just a shooter, though. Like you're gonna get, like he can play a little bit, kind of drive into the hoop. Like it's not a strength, but they can run him off screens all day. And I think for a team like that, that's a real big need. They're gonna want to space the floor. I mean, obviously they have Luka and Kyrie, and I think they want to get someone with solid size who can maybe, I don't know, in the first, like, I mean, because he can even come off the bench and provide like a spark. He's a 6-man type. So the other guy I was thinking about to fit that roster would be Derek Lively.
I was also thinking that.
Because I think it would be so scary to see Lively as like a lob threat with both those guards.
Yeah.
And especially on the defensive end of the floor, I think they're going to struggle a little bit more. So having that black hole rim protector would be nice, but I'm fine with either of those picks.
I just I thought Lively might be too much of a project for the Mavericks in the current state. I mean, if they do trade the pick, I imagine there's going to be definitely a different pick there. But.
So now we're at pick 11 with the Orlando Magic. So they picked Asir Thompson with the 6th pick. And here it could get pretty interesting because, again, they have such a young roster. They would probably go best player available. I think they want to try to move Cole Anthony. I've been hearing a little bit of that. So I think they could maybe want another guard for that roster. And personally, oh man, I'm deciding between Kason Wallace and Nick Smith Jr. But honestly, Nick Smith Jr.
Nick Smith?
Nick Smith, dude.
Wow.
You drafted Anthony Black. You liked him a lot at 6'7" guard.
Yeah.
I mean, Nick Smith projects like pretty similarly, just a big guard, defensive side of the ball is going to be great. Is going to be able to run pick and roll, can extend from beyond the 3-point line.
I mean, I guess I just don't see that defensive upside that you do, and I'm not
I
sure
guess,
if there's
I think
consistency.
He's got great length, but
kind of. Oh, okay. He kind of reminds me of a little bit of like Jordan Clarkson type. Like I don't really know if I see the exact ceiling that you're seeing, but
yeah, I don't really see Jordan Clarkson in him, but he kind of looks like Jordan Clarkson. Maybe that's why you see him. But dude, I'm actually really struggling with this pick because there are good players left on the board. I think they can either. I also like Bilal Coulibaly too.
I think Buffkin too. Like.
And Buffkin I like. But there's a team like later on that I think would be a better fit for Buffkin.
I don't know if Buffkin's fallen this far, but
that's a good point. You know, I'm going to stick to my gut. This has got to be Nick Smith Jr. I think that's going to be a really scary lineup they can run out there with the size. He's a very athletic guard. He had a lot of injury issues last year, which is the reason why I think he had his draft stock fall so much. But as a prospect coming out of high school, one of the top kids in the class, I think he was like number 2 overall. we never really got to see his full potential at Arkansas last year, and I really think he's got a lot more in the tank than people are giving him credit for.
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
And I think as a point guard, I think he fits. Like, I don't think they're going to stick with Markelle Fultz and Cole Anthony. I just don't think that
one of them are
works.
definitely going to be gone. I don't know if Nick Smith has that playmaking juice. I mean, only 1.7 assists per game last year.
But he didn't play that much. So, like, again.
I mean, it's a per game.
Yeah, but the sample size is not large enough.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean.
Okay. 12th pick, Oklahoma City Thunder.
Now, this is a really interesting pick. I think Bilal Coulibaly is a guy they would be looking at. He's definitely an Oklahoma City type of guy. They just like to take these random foreign guys and try to develop them. But I think they're going to end up taking Derek Lively. And
I left him up for you.
Yeah, throw up the lob, man.
No. This is the Buffkin pick. I think this is the perfect fit.
Really?
I've also heard some Thunder Buffkin talk as well.
Interesting. Okay.
Again, you can make your pick. This is an individual switch off. I'm gonna respect whatever pick you make, but
I mean,
I left Buffkin there.
I'm gonna go with Derek Lively. Buffkin is certainly a good option. I think Lively adds to exactly what they need. Last year they were playing Kenrich Williams at center when Chet was out, so
yeah,
they need to add some depth to that front court for sure. And Derek Lively is definitely that type of guy. I think he was a little underrated his freshman season. We didn't see that shooting potential that he definitely has. He can knock down threes. Plays really, really solid defense. Had a lot of blocks. So I think he's just going to add to this young core of Oklahoma City.
Yeah, and he's also Lively was. When I say he's a shot blocker, he's one of the best shot blockers I've gotten a chance to really scout. He is. Oh man, these comps are difficult, but sort of Anthony Davis in college, the way he could just jump his second bounce. So off a rebound, the ability to get back up there and block a shot is what Anthony Davis was. And it's very hard to get guys who can do that.
Maybe a Mitchell Robinson with a three.
He's a better defender than Mitchell Robinson.
Wow, okay. Interesting.
He is. He's a skilled shot blocker.
Yeah.
He's not just big. He great timing. He knew what he was doing out there. So I think that's a good pick. Now, Toronto Raptors on the clock at pick 13. I think this is a spot where Kobe. This is the minimum, I think, where Kobe Buffkin falls. And I really like this fit as well. I think they're looking for guards, especially guards who can kind of defend as well, project a little bit more with their length. I mean, he just seems like a classic Raptors player.
Yeah.
Who they can kind of add some weight onto, mold. But, I got to watch a lot of Buffkin last year because he was a Michigan player, was one of the best players in the country, towards the end of the year, and is still very young for his age as well. I believe he came to school as a 17-year-old, as a freshman, so
wow.
He is a year younger for his age, and he's got a lot of talent. And I heard his pre-draft stuff and his workouts went really, really well. So
yeah.
I think he might go higher, but I think 13 to the Raptors is probably where...
The floor,
yeah.
Absolutely.
So now we got pick 14. We got the Pelicans on the clock now, assuming they don't trade this pick in some sort of package with Zion. Who do they go with here?
Yeah, I think the Pelicans are really looking for a long-term point guard. And there's a lot of good ones that are still on the board. I think the Pelicans here, they're going with Cason Wallace. Really like this pick. Reminds me a lot of the defensive lockdown point guards that we currently have in the league. Obviously,
Dejounte Murray.
Yeah, that's a good comp.
That's the comp.
He's a great perimeter defender, on-ball defender, knows what he's doing. And that would really add to this Pelicans team. They do have Jose Alvarado, but, I don't think he's a starting player on a championship team.
I don't know about that one, yeah.
I like Cason Wallace here. Definitely showing some upside on the offensive end, too, so good pick.
So now we're on to pick 15 with the Atlanta Hawks. This is an interesting pick because this team's got good starters at each position, but they might run out of issues because some of these guys I don't think they'll re-sign long term. But this is a tough one. I think they might want to add some shooting or maybe a wing. But I could also see him trying to get a backup point guard to back up Trae Young. Actually, I think that's what they're going to do. I think they want to go backup point guard here, and I think the next guy off my board is Jalen Hood-Schifino. And I honestly really like this projection to the Hawks because you can kind of bring him out. If you want to play two guards, he can definitely play off the ball a little bit more than hold his own on the defensive end of the floor, being 6'5". He's a great guy to kind of control the pace. And while Trae Young's a really great point guard, I think you can benefit a lot from having a guy who can control the pace, slow it down a little bit, back down smaller guards also on the floor. So I think he could take some of the load off Trae Young, take the ball up a few times, coming off the bench if there's a tough defensive matchup. So I think that'd be a good pick. And Hood-Schifino's a great prospect.
Yeah, Jalen Suggs type of player. Knows how to handle the ball. Pretty good. Like him a lot.
Yep. Now we got the 16th pick. The Utah Jazz are back on the clock. A lot of stuff they can do here.
Definitely a lot of guys that are still available. I think they do need a wing, though. Their starting small forward right now is Rudy Gay. So we're looking at a lot of different wings.
Well, we also took Cam Whitmore at the 9th pick.
That's right. We did take Cam Whitmore. I still think they need more people to play that shooting guard, small forward type of position. They could also look for a point guard here. This is definitely a tough one. But I think...
I think they might want to go point guard here. Right, because Colin Sexton, I don't know if you want him running point the whole game. And they got Chris Dunn, I guess, is their other, primary ball handler.
Yeah. What point guards are on the board, though?
Keontae George. I think Keontae George is pretty good.
All right, let's go Keontae George.
I think that's a good pick.
He kind of reminds me of a score-first type of guy. I'm not really sure about the playmaking upside, but definitely
I think he could project a little bit as a playmaker.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a terrible defender either. But, again, he's going to add some shot-making ability, can create his own shot, solid three-point shooter. I think kind of pairing him with Sexton wouldn't be the worst idea.
Okay.
Now we're at the Lakers at pick 17. I think they're pretty upset that they lost out on Lively. But I think they want to go small forward here. I don't think they end up doing Bilal Coulibaly. It does not fit their timeline. I'm deciding between Grady Dick and Jet Howard. But for some reason, I feel like they go Jet Howard here. This is such a Lakers pick.
Yeah.
He's going to score. He reminds me of the Max Christie pick.
Yeah.
But Jet, I watched him play a lot last year. You can see the upside. When he's on, he's on. He can create his own shot. He's a bad defender, though. And so that's the question. I'm not sure if the defense is ever going to click for him. If he was an average defender, I think he'd be a top 10 pick. But I don't think he ever projects to be an average defender. I think he's going to probably project to be a below average NBA defender. So I guess you're asking for a guy who can come out, space the floor. He can handle the ball. He can play make somewhat. So, he's purely an offensive guy.
Yeah.
And I think the Lakers could use him in some interesting ways there.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot.
Now we're on pick 18 with the Miami Heat.
Yeah. This is definitely an interesting pick. The Miami Heat have a lot of holes that they need to fill. We saw it in the NBA Finals when they were getting dominated by Jokic. So I think they're looking for more big men to play with Bam or behind Bam. So for this pick, I'm going to go Noah Clowney from Alabama. Power forward, 6'10", 7'2" wingspan. He's a big guy, rim protector, can slide on the perimeter as well, so a very versatile defender. He is a hustle type of guy, which we know Spoelstra will love. He has a lot of, I guess you could say, dog in him, whatever. And has that three-point shooting potential, so big fan of Noah Clowney here.
Now, I thought they could also, the other guy I was thinking about was Leonard Miller.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's just such a Heat player.
Leonard Miller.
He reminds me of, who was the Duke wing who never really panned out, who went to the Heat? I think it was 2015 or something.
Yeah.
Can you look that up, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like the comp is like there. Oh man, what's his name? Anyways, we're gonna continue. 19, Golden State.
Justice Winslow?
Justice Winslow. Dude's Justice Winslow. But
That's unflattering, but
I don't know, dude, Justice Winslow, I thought he could be something.
he was pretty good for a couple of years for sure. But.
Now, Golden State, they have a few things they have to sort out here. Draymond, we don't know if he's going to be back. I still think that Jordan Poole, we don't know if he's going to be back. Kuminga, we don't know if he's going to be back. Moses Moody, like some of these guys are just kind of there. But actually, Kuminga I like a lot. I think they should keep him. But
7-2.
yeah, there's a lot of different ways they can go here. I think they. You know what? I'm gonna go off and maybe go with a guy that is lower on some people's boards, but I like Maxwell Lewis, the small forward out of Pepperdine. And again, this may be high, but I think he's like a super interesting prospect. And like he's gonna be a shooter. He's got great length, and I don't know. It just seems like he can fit into what they want to do. But I could also see him picking Chris Murray as well. That was the other guy I was debating between, but
Yeah.
I think Maxwell Lewis would be an interesting fit on that team, and I think they would be the type of franchise who would take a risk like that.
Yeah, the Warriors always like to take these weird guys or these just
Yeah.
random guys that don't have a lot of pedigree. I think Maxwell Lewis is a great pick there.
He's really good. I mean, he is. He's one of the best shooting guards this entire draft. But now we're on to pick 20, the Houston Rockets, who we mocked Eamon Thompson to them in the 4th pick.
Yep.
They're back on the clock. Now, some guys have really fallen in this draft.
There are a lot of guys that have definitely fallen. I think one guy in particular, Bilal Coulibaly, has fallen way too far, and he absolutely fits the Rockets' timeline. This guy is a freaky athlete. Little to no offensive game. He doesn't really have a lot of creativity on the ball, but
They don't need a scorer.
Yeah, exactly. They need these glue guys to play with Thompson, Green, and Sengun. So he knows how to cut. He knows how to play defense. And those are two really important things to have as a role player. So I think Coulibaly here is a great pick.
Yeah, no, that's a killer pick. Love to see that. Now we got the Nets on the clock at pick 21. Yeah, a really interesting team. I think they want to go with a big here. I mean, Nick Claxton's on a 1-year deal. I'm not sure. I like Chris Murray. I think this is a spot where he can go. I like James Najee, one of my favorite prospects in this draft. Is it too high for Najee? Nah, you know what? I'm going to go with James Najee. Now, a little bit about the player himself. He's from Nigeria. I believe he played in France
or Spain.
Played
Barcelona.
in Spain, yep. But I mean, this guy is like he's Bam Adebayo with like zero offensive game, like completely a raw prospect. But I think the Nets are going to try to bring in a lot of these types of project players, and I think they definitely have a need at a big man position. Plus, like, I don't know, he can kind of be like the Nick Claxton replacement, because I don't think Claxton's part of their long-term plans.
Really?
Claxton?
I mean, he played really well last year. I don't know if he did in the playoffs, but
But like, they're not gonna like re-sign him, right?
they might.
I think Najee either way.
Solid. Yeah, Najee, I really like this guy. 6'10" with a 7.5 wingspan. This dude is an absolute freak. He's also built like a bull. Dude has like the biggest arms I've ever seen. He's less than 19 years old, so
Yeah.
absolute giant. The one thing though is, like you said, he's raw as can be. Dude shot 50% from the free throw line. It's kind of a problem. I mean, you can just like hack him down low, but he has the potential to develop into something really special. So.
Yep. So now we got, again, the Nets back-to-back picks, so 22. So I think maybe they go like a safer player here to go along with the prospect. Or, I mean, you just go.
I mean, I think they just go, if they're going with Najee, they just got to, do what they got to do.
Yeah.
I think they go for Leonard Miller here.
I love that pick.
Leonard Miller has some of the craziest upside, I think, in this draft.
Yeah.
Kind of like almost like a Kevin Durant light.
So you got mad when I compared
I mean,
Miller to Kevin Durant. Now you're comparing this guy.
I mean,
He's a good player.
This dude is freaky. Like, I'm a big fan of Leonard Miller. He's got really big hands, which I don't know, it's like really, really great for rebounding, defense, positional versatility. I mean, this guy is really fluid.
He can shoot too.
And he can shoot, yeah. So I think he has a lot of upside. It's great for this Brooklyn.
So now we got Portland Trailblazers on the clock. There's a guy who's fallen a ton, and I think it kind of reflects our own maybe biases against this player. But I don't see any opportunity. This guy's still on the board, so I'm going to pick him. The Blazers get Grady Dick out of Kansas. 6'7" shooter. Okay, I might get like a hate for this. Maybe the people on Twitter are going to pull up his analytics or whatever, but I don't think he's that good of a shooter.
Oh, that's a take. I
watched him play in a solid amount of games. I believe he shot. Hold on, let's pull up his stuff.
40.3% from three on 5.7 attempts per game.
But I mean, I don't think a lot of those were off of like different movement. Now I think he's a great spot up guy.
Yeah,
but they were mocking him to like pick 11. I don't think he's actually a solid defender. Like he's not a terrible defender, and he's actually got a solid frame. But I don't think he gives you that upside to be picked in the top 15. I don't think he's a lottery pick.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. He kind of reminds me of like a taller, less thick Max Strus.
No, he's Kevin Huerter.
Oh, yeah, Kevin Huerter. But
he's 100% Kevin Huerter.
I think he's a little worse than Kevin Huerter. He's not as mobile, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Huerter could also play make, too.
Yeah, so...
Anyways, sorry, Grady. But... Sacramento Kings on the clock with the 24th pick. Now, do they pair Keegan Murray with Chris Murray? That's the question.
This is a good question. I mean, I think if Chris Murray's still on the board, they just go for it, right? Like they gotta pair him up.
Yeah.
I mean, I like their team and the way it's constructed right now. I don't really see if there's any guys that could really make an impactful difference. I think that Chris Murray though is a guy that would fit in well with the team, add some team chemistry, obviously.
Yeah. He's like the left-handed version of his brother, like, completely.
Yeah.
Like, he's the same guy.
I mean, yeah, these 3-and-D type of guys are always valuable, so, yeah, I'm huge at Chris Murray.
Nice. 25th pick, the Memphis Grizzlies. This is a roster where I think they're very deep. So I'm not sure if they really just go, like, here in the later rounds, maybe some teams want to add, like, a playoff shooter, another bench guy. I think they might want to go a little bit more upside here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's an interesting pick. Now, I like this guy, Kobe Jones, out of Xavier. He's a shooting guard. He's going to be a junior, so he's a little bit older. But I think he does a lot of things really well. I averaged 15 points a game last year, 5 rebounds on 50% effective field goal percentage. I think he's one of the guys who's risen up draft boards a lot, and I would not be surprised if Memphis takes a little bit of an older guy who can still project and hasn't really hit a ceiling yet.
Yeah, that's definitely Memphis' style. I mean, last year, who they take? Jake LaRavia, and they took that guy from Colorado.
That was a terrible pick, by the way.
Yeah. But who's the guy from Colorado?
They took...
He's like a football player.
He was not great.
But, yeah, they like taking these like random small school guys that are a little bit older, but they have shown that they can like play. So I think that's a pretty valid pick.
I think this is a good player. I really think he's going to be high up on people's draft boards.
I think so too.
Oh, David Roddy from Colorado State.
Yeah, David.
That guy
Roddy.
was not. Like, that was a crazy pick.
I mean, he did get playoff minutes. Like he was guarding LeBron. You know.
Yeah, Chick LaRavia. Oh man, there was guys on the. I remember we mocked LaRavia last year really highly.
Yeah, I think
he actually went high.
I mean, I think he was just injured last year. I think he's still pretty good.
To be determined. Okay, 26th pick. The Pacers on the clock again.
Ooh, okay. This is an interesting one. So they have, some holes. Who do we mock to them?
We had Jarris Walker.
Jarris Walker. Okay, so they've filled the front court a little bit. I think they're gonna go Ryan Rupert.
Let's
here.
go. Let's go. Is that four European guys taken in the first round so far?
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, that's elite.
I guess Rupert technically played in New Zealand, but I guess he's originally from France. All these foreign guys are just defensive monsters. They have insane wingspans. I don't really know how they do it, but the issue is they all cannot shoot. So something's going a little wrong in the
he
foreign
can
development.
play make though for sure.
But yeah, he's got those playmaking instincts. Really good defender, switchable guy. Point of attack defense is great. Knows how to pass, and his free throw shooting shows potential to like be a good 3-point shooter. So he's definitely a good fit next to Halliburton, who isn't the greatest defender. I kind of like this pick.
Yeah. Now we got the Charlotte Hornets on the clock at pick number 27. We had Scoot Henderson going the second pick, so that really solves the backcourt, I think. Oh, man, this is where I get deep in my NBA draft bag. Okay, I'm going to draft another one of these interesting players.
Oh, God.
This is another guy who's risen a lot up draft boards, but Olivier Maxence Prosper out of Marquette. 6'8". He's going to be a junior.
Ooh.
This is a good player, dude.
Yeah.
Don't hate.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
He's got versatile wing size. He's got a 7'1" wingspan. Great defensively. I think he's like can run pick and roll with those two guards. At the end of the day, like I don't think that there are other front court guys that they like on the board. So I think personally he's the highest on my board right here as kind of a more defensive minded player. But I mean he's a plug and play, and I'm excited to see him with this team.
Yeah.
And he will go in the first round.
Olivier Maxence Prosper.
Yes. Look at the
Absolutely.
picture on the draft thing. You telling me you're not going to draft this guy? I mean, he's an animal.
Yeah.
He's an animal.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's 21 years old, too, so he's a little bit older, but...
Definitely.
This is why you listen to the pod, because we got Olivier Maxence
Prosper.
Prosper going in the first round. But okay, 28th pick, Utah Jazz on the clock once again. And, I mean, they're shaping out to have a great draft. We went Cam Whitmore with the 9th pick, Keontae George with the 16th pick, so I think they solve the backcourt, and they're looking like they have a really good roster at this point. But
Yeah.
who do you have as the next guy off the board?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's kind of just like pick your guy. I think the Jazz are going to take Brandon Podziemski from Santa Clara. This is one of the guys I actually really like. I think he has a lot of playmaking instinct. He's a good scorer. He's kind of like a veteran presence at almost like the point guard position because he knows how to handle the ball. He knows how to run an offense. These Santa Clara guys, they are always going unnoticed. Jalen Williams last year, a sleeper type of guy. I think they have a really good developmental program there, and this is definitely a guy that the Jazz would target.
Dude, the shooting and length on this team, if they're able to get Whitmore and Podziemski, I mean those are two, like if one of those guys pans out, I think you got a really good draft there. But
Yeah.
Okay, we got the 29th pick. Pacers back on the clock. Feels like Pacers.
They traded this pick today to the Nuggets.
Oh, this is the Nuggets pick. Yep.
Yes.
Interesting. So, Nuggets on the clock. Ooh, I'm trying to think of who the Nuggets will want.
Ew.
I think they go Dariq Whitehead here.
Okay.
I think he's got a lot of upside just because he was injured last year. Shooting guard, 6'7", coming out of Duke. I think he can come off the bench and provide a pretty big spark. Like, he can get his own shot. He can play make. I think he's a solid defender. I actually think Dariq Whitehead would be a fantastic fit for the Nuggets. And the reason why I think the Nuggets ended up trading back trading up into this pick is because I think they know that this draft is very deep and you can get a lot of these scorers specifically later in the draft. And so Whitehead's a great option. I also thought about Sensabaugh out of Ohio State. Both those guys I think are in a similar mold as just like, they can get a bucket in the NBA.
Yeah. And I like Dariq Whitehead, shot 42% from three.
Yeah.
Good fit for like a contending team to be a good shooter.
Now we got the Clippers with the 30th pick.
I think they also traded this in the Porzingis trade. So
okay, so this is
the Wizards, probably. The Wizards have it.
Okay, this is the Wizards. Nice, they got another.
The Wizards get a shot to do what they want. Okay, I think the Wizards are going to do some Wizards things, and they're going to take G.G. Jackson here. Super high upside type of guy. People mocked him in the lottery, but he has a lot of character concerns, and this could be a real problem. Apparently, he was showing up to workouts and then too gassed and then just started vaping after. So we know this guy has some character concerns, maturity concerns. He is a very young guy, though.
He reclassified, too.
He reclassified, yep. And he has a lot of potential on the offensive end. 6'8", 6'11" wingspan, pretty solid. He's an inefficient scorer, but he does have an NBA bag, I would say. He knows how to do like a post fade, which is like pretty solid. So sky high potential for the Wizards that are trying to rebuild. I think this is the type of guy that you would want.
Yep, and that wraps up our 2023 NBA mock draft. I guess we'll see tomorrow. I'll try to get this episode out either tomorrow morning or later tonight. But yeah, it should be a good one. A lot of great talent on the board. Excited to see if our late round picks. We kind of went off the rails a little bit with that for the late first round, but super fun. Again, be on the lookout. I'll probably post on Twitter our final mock so people can roast it. But yeah, thanks again for listening. Oh, some quick logistical stuff. We're still trying to get out some of the episodes of the Across the Country College Football. Been a little bit behind on that, but the first 5 or 6 in the Pac-12 are out, so check that out as well. But thanks for listening, and see y'all later.